right, welcome to the Mobile County Public Schools Athletics Show. My name is Brad Lowell, Director of Athletics for the Mobile County Public Schools. Today we're here with Davidson High School, starting off with Coach Harrell, the baseball coach at Davidson. Coach, thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
I appreciate you coming. Well, Coach, I've got you here. Tell us kind of a little bit about yourself, where you started and where you've gotten to as far as to this point in your career.
Well, I obviously from Bainbridge, Georgia. College kind of brought me to Mobile. Played at University of Mobile, and been here for a little while. Just got married, had a couple kids, and
Awesome.
kind of got stuck to the to Mobile. But it's been a pleasure being here, and started out at a private school in Atmore, and then kind of worked my way into Daphne for a while. I was there for a couple of years, and from 04 to 08, and then I actually coached Coach Riley's boys in PE, and he had asked me if I wanted to come coach some baseball at Davidson, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door here. And it's kind of been a whirlwind to kind of get the program started. And Coach Jordan was there for a little while before me and had some things going, and he had kind of stepped down, and I took in and just kind of picked up where he left off, and just trying to keep going.
Well, and you've done a really good job with your group, and I know historically, even back, you can go back into the 70s and 80s, Davidson's had strong baseball teams and programs.
Yes, sir, it has. We've just recently kind of acknowledged Coach Powell at one of our first opening season game, and with the state champions there in '79 and '80, and just about everywhere I go, Davidson, hear something about some type of alumni, and it's amazing the tradition it's there. It's just that it's something that we're trying to build on and bring back to our school and especially to our program to try to get it back to that state championship level.
Well, and what's ironic about that, I played for Coach Powell, but he was at South Alabama at the time as the pitching coach, and I know he was a fiery guy that liked to get after it.
Yes, sir.
But it was good seeing him being honored with you guys and moving on. Well, Coach, as far as this year and kind of we're somewhat in the midway point of the season, how do you guys look and kind of what's the outlook for the rest of the year for you?
Well, last year we had mostly sophomores in our lineup, and this year they've obviously matured as juniors, and you would like to have a full senior lineup going into to a season as competitive as our area is with Theodore and MGM. It's always been pretty good, and of course you got a Baker that you have to compete with and contend with, and so we've got kids that have been into that fire and that mix, and we're just still trying to mature and grow as ourselves, to become a team that we need to be. We've got some good kids, and they work hard. They're very coachable. They do the things you ask them to do, and that's kind of what we look forward to every day, to practice and our games, to just compete, try to get them where they need to be.
I tell everyone, it really doesn't matter what sport you're playing. You can't substitute experience. And having a group of young kids that you started playing last year, I guess this year now most of those kids are juniors. It has to be a positive outlook for you. It is.
We've always had a good core of seniors that kind of lead us. Sometimes they get outnumbered, and every year that we continue to try to give those guys a chance to lead, and we've got two kids that do a really good job in terms on the field and performing for us, and a lot of the juniors see that, and they try to imitate that and do their best, but it doesn't hurt us too much, not having just four seniors, but sometimes it's tough. Those kids want to do a good job, but if you have more than a couple seniors, sometimes that helps with experience and everything on the field.
Absolutely. And with the area, baseball is kind of one of those situations where you have to play good enough through the year to make it in one of those top two spots in your area, but then you want to be peaking at the right time, and obviously whoever's hot at the end usually makes that good run. So I know you want to be good enough to get in, but then you don't want to peak until at the very end.
That's right, definitely. Any time you get to that playoff run, it's usually the team that gets hot right there at the end, and we've got some kids that are able to do that, and again, we haven't peaked. We played some really good ball, and we've had our ups and downs, and then we've matched up pretty well, but I think once we find out that we have the confidence to be able to be there with anybody, then we're going to be pretty good.
Well, and when we were talking earlier before the show, real quick, we brought up a couple points, and I think baseball is a sport that it really hits probably harder than most sports. And we talk about sports specialization, especially pitchers. Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of issues a lot of times with kids these days that if they focus on baseball all year round and they try to throw 365 days a year, do you think that can hurt them in the long run without actually taking the proper rest that they need? And, how has that impacted baseball today compared to back when I played? Yeah. We just played during that time, and that was it. Yeah. And picked back up the next year. That's true.
Yeah, it's we've experienced some of that with some of our kids, especially since I've been at Davidson. Kids now, just focus on that one sport, and they want to exceed and, sure. and try to get to that next level. And they think the more work they put in, the more time that it's going to help. And sometimes our bodies, obviously need that time of rest. And I was growing up, we played our sports when they were supposed to be played, and mm-hmm. and I think it has affected a lot of just especially pitching. Our pitching is pretty good this year, but we have some kids that have experienced that either tendonitis or mm-hmm. some from overthrowing, and then just pitching as a whole in the area of Mobile County, it's been down than it has been in the past, and I'm sure that's a reflection on these kids. The velocity's down and not having the time to rebuild or just fresh their bodies to be able to perform.
Well, yeah, and I think it's important, and you mentioned it earlier and brought up a good point. I think the education part of it, just understanding, we want you to play and play a lot. That's how you get better. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's got to be some balance there and some downtime and rest time. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit about yourself and definitely your team this year, and good luck to you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be back after the break.
Do you have what it takes to be an Envision graduate? We are pioneering students to be all they can be, from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade.
I definitely would recommend Envision to other students who feel the way I feel. They really work with you, and they've gotten tutors, and you have online teachers to talk to.
It starts right here. It starts right now. Envision Virtual Academy. Enroll today.
In Mobile County Public Schools, we are redefining ready. We are graduating college ready, career ready, and life ready. We are more than just a test score. We are earning college credit while in high school. We are working internships to get real-world experience. We are welders. We are certified nursing assistants. We are redefining ready.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're here with Davidson High School soccer coach, Coach DeLonga. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here. Coach, I know you're very knowledgeable about soccer in this area, the experience that you have and the time that you've been in Mobile coaching soccer. But tell us a little bit more about you and kind of where you're from, and then up to this point in your career.
Well, I'll give you a quick story. Started off coming over in 1994. I came over on soccer scholarship to the University of Mobile, so stayed local, got my opportunity there. I met my sweetheart, Janice, there, and 24 years later, I'm still here in this area. I was working in construction, and I was getting away from soccer a little bit, which was one of my passions. And I love mathematics, and I love soccer. So that combination allowed me to get into teaching as well as coaching. And I walked into the door. Mr. Copeland was there at the time, and we had a conversation. And that was the first place I landed. And he said to me, he says, "Well, you don't have to look anywhere else. If this is where you want, this can be your home." And so 11 years later, I'm still at Davidson High School.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you, and I know 11 years, we've been able to see your programs mature, and we were just talking right before the show came on, you know, your 2017 team made a run to the state. You know, tell us a little bit about your program in general, some of the things that, you know, you like to emphasize with your kids in soccer, and then, you know, try to build a sustainable soccer program, because in Mobile, as you know, I mean, you're competing against a lot of the private schools with soccer.
Correct.
But also soccer is huge in North Alabama.
Correct.
You know, Huntsville and so forth. But so just kind of a little bit mold about your program in general, and what you teach your kids, and how they develop them.
Well, it actually started about my third year at Davidson High School, where I looked at the program and I said, what do I want? I don't want just a day you go into a game and we win the game and get all excited about one game. I said, what do I want this program to be? And it was in my third year that I had a youngster, Kevin Dongle, and he wanted to go to college for a soccer scholarship. And I said, okay, so that was my first experience getting a youngster to the next level. And from that day on and that year on, it was all about getting the kids to the next level.
Right.
And then as we developed, we try to develop some kind of consistency,
Right.
both on and off the field. I expect the highest quality for the youngsters as athletes, and I hold them to a higher standard academically.
Right.
First and foremost, and then also athletically, we try to build that. And that consistency has allowed us some successes where we've been fortunate. We've won the area 10 of the 11 years that I've been there. We were at that state run in 2017, but most importantly, we've kind of created a legacy where the seniors leave a legacy for the next youngsters. This year is no different. I have 5 seniors. I have 8 juniors, 3 sophomores, and those legacies are continuous. And so the consistency is kind of what I'm looking for in the program, and that's happening.
And I know, and as you mentioned, the consistency of the program is all about the development of your younger kids.
Correct.
And I know you put a lot of emphasis on your young teams. I mean, you try to bring in as many kids as you can, don't you?
That is correct. This year we have 3 junior varsity teams. I don't cut anybody. I try to place them where they can be most successful. I always feel like there's that diamond in the rough. It could be my weakest team, but I slowly see that development. And we've had players move up all the way to varsity position. The other thing I like to do as my freshmen come in, I usually like to take 2 or 3 under our wing and actually place them with the varsity. They'll become swing players. So they'll play consistently with the junior varsity, but then also join the varsity so that they can grow and they could become the leaders of that. So that's kind of how that consistency goes and kind of develops.
That's awesome. Just for the fact too of, you know, just the kids being involved and you know, being able to take the time to try to develop, because I tell coaches all the time, even from my experience coaching, as a 9th grader, you really don't know what they're going to be like as a senior.
Correct.
And that's why you're very hesitant to make cuts for 9th grade kids because you just don't know yet.
Right, and my other reasoning for that, you're 100% correct, that diamond in the rough, but it's also about them finding a place at the school that they're at. You know, they find a home, they find a family, and you know as much as I do, some of the youngsters need those relationships and those friendships in order to survive 4 years of high school sometimes.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely, there's several reasons for that, and so that's definitely a strong reason for me.
I agree 100%. Well, tell us about your team this year. You know,
Okay,
where you guys are at this point, and the possibilities of a run here in late year?
Well, definitely. It's really, and I don't mean to really hop on the past, but it's kind of similar to the 2017 year, where we went into the state of the run with the worst record. I mean, we had as many wins as losses, and I always do that because in the beginning of the year, I always tell people if I'm 0-8, but I've learned something by the time I get to area games and I'm winning, I'm happy.
Right.
So that's where we're at. We're actually 7-6-2. We got 8 from last night's win, fortunately from last night's win. But in the area, we're 5-0. So we're consistently looking to get a berth. One more game, that'll get us our berth into the playoffs. And 2 more games will get us our another area championship. So we're on track where we need to be. We're still having our ups and downs. The McGill, Tulin, I want to clip them. The Fairhope across the bay.
Right.
We'll probably face them in the first and possibly second or third round. And those are the teams that we're outplaying them. I mean, definitely outplaying them. But we just got to get the right score, the 2-1 on our side and that. So right now, in the middle of the season, taking the turn, we're exactly where we want to be. But we have a lot of work ahead in the next month. So.
Well, with soccer, obviously, soccer is probably the most popular sport globally.
Correct.
And it's really starting to catch on in the States.
Yes.
What do you foresee, soccer, especially in the state of Alabama, it's really big north of Montgomery.
Correct.
Do you see south of Montgomery catching up? Does it seem like that it's growing at a rate where do you think this part of the state is eventually going to match what they're doing in the north part?
Yes, definitely. I really feel that. And here's the reason why, is because the parents that played soccer is now the generation of the younger kids coming up. So the support system, the parents that are wanting more for their kids, that's starting to develop in this area right here. And so slowly but surely, we're starting to compete. Hence, last year, McGill made a great run. The year before, we made a great run. Murphy made a great run the year before. So all these years, we're slowly starting to compete at the same level as the northern teams and that. And so they're starting to take notice of us. So yeah, it may take maybe 2 or 3 more years, but I think consistently you'll probably find a Mobile County Public School team of some sort in that hunt for that state championship.
You made a good point. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've, Mobile has had a team reach, the state level.
Correct.
And I think that consistency as a whole, agreed, will eventually match the same consistency up in the north where you have multiple great teams.
Yes. Instead
of just the 1 or 2 that's coming out.
Agreed.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time coming
thank
on
you.
and talking today, and good luck for the rest of the year. Hopefully you make a 2017 run.
Well, we're going to do our best to do it and make Mobile County Public School System proud in that, and obviously Davidson. I'm a die-hard Davidson Warriors, but we're definitely going to give it our best shot. So.
Well, I appreciate what you do, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back after the break.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're here with Davidson High School's football coach, Coach Cawley. Thanks, Coach, for coming on.
Thank you. It's always good to be here.
Absolutely. Back starting your first year at Davidson.
Yeah.
Got to come back start in January. And so far over the first few months, what can you tell us about the Davidson Warriors?
Well, I couldn't ask for a better setup as far as, what we get from a school, from Davidson for training athletes. And, this day and age, the off season is just as important as the season. And, before I even got there, our new strength and conditioning coach, Tim Massengale, was hired. And, he's been a godsend. It allows me to concentrate a lot on the business side of what's going on. And he's doing a great job with the kids. We're seeing a lot of growth in their numbers. And, there's a lot of excitement right now, and that's good, which, anytime there's change, there's that little boost of excitement. The key is keeping it going,
That's right. Well, you brought up a good point with being lucky enough to bring Coach Massengale on to do the weight room, and you can't emphasize enough the importance of having a good weight room coach. But Davidson, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all pretty much train most of your athletes, don't you, throughout the day?
We do. In the way we have it set up there, and kudos to the school for doing it this way, is we have a block for freshman football, and then we have 2 blocks that are just athletes, anyone that wants to take weight training, any coach that wants their kids trained. And we train the boys and the girls right there together in the same room. And, we haven't had any issues. Coach Massengale does a great job, and Coach Eubanks working with him with the female athletes. And, just getting coaches' planning periods worked out to where they can be in there to help monitor and supervise. And we have found that, it kind of helps. The boys work a little bit harder, and the girls, some of the lifts that you would think would be difficult, power cleans and things like that, they have better form than most of the guys do, because they're learning from scratch and they're coachable and they just want to get in there and learn. And it's been really good so far.
I think it's great. I think, in this day and time, strength and conditioning is a necessity for any sport, for any boys or girls. And I think it's great given the opportunity, throughout the day for kids that want to get in strength and conditioning or be part of a year-round program it's beneficial.
Oh, definitely. And the way Coach Massengale does it, I think, is important too. Most of the time when people think of strength and conditioning, you're thinking of how much weight can we lift. Mm-hmm. And while we want to get stronger, he focuses a lot on movement and changing the movement based on the lifts you're doing that day. And I can just tell, the way they move, especially the kids who came in with no background at all. It's been, you can tell that it's making a difference.
Absolutely. Well, Davidson football, usually a lot of times when you have a coaching change, sometimes you're able to bring in some guys, sometimes you keep a lot of guys that are on staff. What about your situation? Are you able to bring in any coaches? Are you keeping a lot of the guys that were currently there on staff?
Well, we're keeping some of the guys that were on staff. We were able to maintain the coaches that were on campus. The guys that were off campus, it's hard to get teaching slots for them sometimes. And naturally, you're going to want to bring some people that you've worked with in the past. And, having spent 19 years at Murphy, some of the guys I've met there along through the years are, eager to get involved.
Sure.
So, but, it's not like college. You don't get to travel around with an army of coaches that you got to have this guy. You have to have teaching slots, So getting the proper teaching slots for the right guys is sometimes a challenge in high school. But Mr. Richardson's been awesome, and I think we're going to make it work. We have a pretty good staff.
Well, I think too, it's important that you have that perfect blend of the coaches that have been there, and then a couple of new coaches to come in, because for the kids' sake, you know, having already current relationships with coaches that are there is important in that transition of new coaches.
Yeah, I think you know, kids have strong loyalties to the people that have spent time with them, and the coaches that were there on campus, you know, they went through a lot last year, and those guys, they believe in those guys and they trust them, and they're good football coaches and good people. So it would be, you know, you don't want to go in and totally remove everybody.
That's right.
You know, when you're coming into a place that's historically good, you know, Coach Riley there for 14 years, they always won. They were good.
Right.
They expect to win. The kids do. So that trust factor of having people they know right there is important to them, and you don't want to betray that trust and get rid of everybody that they know.
And I think even last year's season speaks highly of the kids and the program that has been established at Davidson because of what those kids went through and persevered throughout the year and still had a really good football season.
They did. And, you know, they were also dealing with not only the issues that went on, but their coaches, the offensive coaches weren't even on campus. And that's hard. It's hard to coach that way when you're not around your kids and you're having to wait for this coach to get there after school. And those coaches did a good job of managing all of that. And in 7A Region 1, it's hard to make the playoffs. And to go 6-4 and they beat Theodore, who was a region champ, that's a good football season.
That's right. Yeah, and that was a good game too, watching that game there at the end. Well, as far as this year goes, from what you've seen so far, and spring training to be starting up soon, what is your outlook or your expectations for this group that you're coming in this spring? What are you trying to get out of this spring?
Well, having not ever worked with them before, I want to see how they practice, see how hard they work, and, you know, if the weight room is any indication, they've been taught how to work. You know, that and the discipline hasn't been really an issue. So we can focus on football a little bit and teach our new schemes and things like that. Defense won't change, but offensively it'll be a little different. And, you know, really just get in there and set the way we practice and, you know, the new schemes and things like that.
Well, and I know it's not only are the kids, like you mentioned earlier, excited for the change, but I would imagine you're as eager as they are.
I am. I'm ready to go. It's, you know, all season is a grind, but, you know, we've been able to, you know, start having some meetings and doing a little 6-on-1 work, and, you know, just doing that sort of thing, it kind of gets that itch going. And, you know, we've already, just to conserve space, started giving out some equipment and things like that. So
Right.
there's some excitement there.
Well, Coach, it's awesome. I'm excited for the opportunity that you have there. I know you're looking forward to it
I
big
definitely
time. And I can't imagine anything but good things coming out of Davidson football for the years to come. So
We certainly hope so.
I appreciate you coming on as always.
Thank you.
And good luck to you this spring and the season.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we'll be catching up shortly, talking a little bit about more how it goes in the spring.
Yeah, we have a season full of sideline passes waiting on you.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
All right, that concludes our show, and we'll be back next week.